Hey everybody, long time no review. If you haven't noticed, I've broken my channels into a few subgroups for easier viewing. This one I labeled Buff Tech, since it's mainly all technology videos. Today we have the Dell Inspiron 17 5000 series 5759 non-touch model. When I do these laptop reviews, I'd like to just give a general overview, features, likes and dislikes, and closing thoughts on them. We start off with dimensions. This guy is 16.41 inches by 11.15 inches by 1.06 inches thick, or for our metric speaking friends, 416.6 millimeters by 283.2 by 27 millimeters thick. The touch model is 90 thousandths thicker, or 2 millimeters. Weight as tested is 6 pounds 9.3 ounces, or 2.98 kilograms. The touch model, based on Dell's numbers, is 1 pound or 0.5 kilograms heavier. This unit is slightly larger and about 6 ounces heavier than the previous 5748 that I reviewed probably a couple years ago. A 40 watt hour 4-cell removable battery is standard, with a 47 watt hour optional. 45 watt and 65 watt power supply adapters available with Dell's new consumer mini connector. The power supplies are quite small nowadays. This is the 45 watt one that came with the unit. Here is the mini connector. As you can see, it's a lot smaller than the Dell barrel connector that we're used to seeing in the older models. Like the previous 5749, the 5000 series makes good on its upscale model. It has very firm hinges, and the LCD back bezel has minimal flex for such a large screen. I didn't find any real issues with the hinges. They're nice and firm. As I mentioned, comparing external materials on these units, you can easily tell the 5000 series is built better. The monitor screen flex is pretty minimal for a 17-inch screen. You can see that it flexes, but normally with the cheaper laptops, when you press on the back bezel, your fingers come through the screen pretty well, and I'm giving this pretty good flex, and it's resisting, so that's a good thing. This 5749 employs a 6th generation Core i3-6100U at 2.3 gigahertz. The upsell models have Core i5 or i7 available, and discrete graphics options. In all of the configurable options, though, it mentioned AMD and NVIDIA graphics, and I only found the AMD ones available. Intel Graphics HD 520 is standard. This particular model, as purchased, has 12 gigabytes of DDR3 low voltage. Up to 16 gigabytes is supported. It actually has 2 DIMM slots. It has a 1 terabyte 5400 RPM mechanical hard drive. My hope is someday to see mechanical hard drives obsoleted in laptops and desktops, since performance is so much greater with solid state drives, especially since the cost has come down. The good thing, though, is if you buy a laptop and it comes with a mechanical hard drive, and you don't really need a terabyte of space, maybe you only need 256 gigabytes, you can go out and buy a Samsung 850 Pro for 130 bucks, and that's one of the best SSDs in my opinion for the consumer market. The screen is 17.3 inches. This particular model is 1600 by 900 resolution. Has a fairly wide viewing angle. I didn't see any weird colors or anything that I've seen with cheaper displays. 1080p is available. Has an Intel wireless AC 3160 with Bluetooth. Has a 720p front-facing webcam with dual digital mic. Realtek gigabit Ethernet. It has a very large touchpad. Obviously, because it's a 17-inch unit, there's a lot of real estate here. I like the touchpad on this model better than the 5748 I reviewed, but I still like the separate keys for the touchpad, because you could be clicking up here and it's registering a mouse click when you really ideally want it down here. But the good thing is, with the right mouse button click, it really only wants to register when you get towards the bottom of the touchpad. Windows 10 Home is standard, Pro is available, and apparently Windows 7 is still being offered in some of the configurations. Let's turn the laptop around and see what we have for external connections. On the left side here, you have your SD card slot, USB 3.0, HDMI 1.4a. You have your fan slot, gigabit Ethernet port, and your charge port. No connections exist on the back of the laptop. On the right side we have our Kensington security lock. We have our DVD CD burner. We also have two more USB 3.0 slots and a combination headphone microphone jack. On the front we have a charge/power indicator LED. Up top we have our webcam, our LED indicator light, and our dual digital microphones. Your power button is on the right here. It's a newer stylized power button. This one doesn't have the little LED in the indent. Similar style to my 7510 Precision that I have a review coming on soon. The entire palm rest is a rubberized coating. I've seen this employed before on most of the laptops. It's fairly easy to clean up. Shouldn't make a mess. Probably after a lot of use, maybe after a year or two, you'll probably have like a polished spot here where your hands rest. Has the chiclet style keyboard with 10 key. Backlit is available, wasn't purchased on this model. The keyboard has pretty good travel. The spacing between keys isn't too bad. It takes some getting used to. The keys are a hard plastic feel. I think the Precision 7510 keyboard is a little better, but if you're like me, once you get used to mechanical keyboards, I have a DOS Professional 4 I just bought at work with cherry blues. Laptop keyboards never feel right anymore. Let's flip this guy over and take a look at the insides. Here's our bottom side. We have a rubber foot that extends all the way across this access panel, and then one on each side. Here are your speakers. They are bottom facing. This cover is held on with two non-captive Phillips screws. There's a little pry point right here to pull it off. It's made out of plastic with the aluminum foil heatsink covering on the bottom. Here is our mechanical hard drive caddy. Here is our wireless card, and here are your two DDR3 low voltage slots. As I mentioned, the original 5748 only had one slot, so that left you limited on RAM upgrades. For whatever reason, this particular refurb model decided that it needed 12 gigs, which, hey, that's good enough for me. Heat is mainly centered on the left side of the laptop, around where the exhaust and heatsink is. Doesn't really radiate through the rest of the laptop very well, which is a good thing. I ran the anniversary update on this machine and the fan was fairly quiet, so that's a good thing. It means it doesn't put out a lot of heat. We'll roll the B footage here of the fan running in diagnostics mode so you can hear what it sounds like. As I mentioned, the battery on this unit is removable. Just one single switch right here to push that way. It releases the battery and you can pull up. The batteries have gotten a lot smaller. This is a 4-cell 40 watt-hour battery and it's quite tiny. As far as speakers go, that's one thing I ended up liking more on the consumer models than I do on the business models. I was able to comfortably watch a YouTube video on this model at 40% volume, and it was actually loud enough that it was easily understood. On some of my older Latitude 6520s, 6530s, even the 6540s, you crank the volume all the way up on the laptop and you can still barely hear anything. The 7510 that I have, I might have to call in the warranty because the speakers are a little crackly and they sound like crap when they're turned all the way up. Battery life, really always hard for me to judge battery life, but running a YouTube video for 12 minutes, the battery was at 88% when I checked. Windows reported 3 hours and 10 minutes. That's more than acceptable enough for me for such a small battery. Boot time on this particular unit was 1 minute and 10 seconds from full power off with removed battery up until the desktop screen appeared. There's a few apps running on here, but nothing too invasive resource wise. I picked this unit up from the Dell outlet with a 37% off coupon for $353 shipped. Really hard to beat the Dell outlet sometimes, especially since you get the same warranty as you would as a model you'd buy from Walmart or Best Buy or something. Obviously there's always a chance for a lemon, but the same can be said with a new unit. I had a 6440 that after 8 months the motherboard fried in it. They replaced the motherboard, and then another 6 months go by and the motherboard fried into it, so I finally requested a completely new laptop. So I mean, you always take your chances. They're electronics. They do fail. All in all, the 5000 series consumer line impresses me. Although from an IT repair aspect, these units require far more disassembly for repair than say a Latitude or Precision, they're built fairly tough. I probably would trust a teenager with this, no problem. Until the next review, take it easy everybody.